Hi, I'm Andrew.
I'm Sam.
I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're going to be board gaming. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing some next level reviews. And today we're going to be talking about Bryan Drake's review on Destinies. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be watching through his review and kind of giving our thoughts on things that he brings up and kind of points out. Do want to kind of, just throw out some preliminary things. We did reach out to Bryan about doing this. We do have his approval. We're not here to bash Bryan. I think we all are Bryan Drake fans. And so just kind of want to set that out there and make sure everybody knows. Also, Bryan usually asks a question about he asks a general question before each video, so we're probably going to go ahead and answer that question for him as well. But yeah, this is something we're going to try out and see how it goes, and maybe we can do this some more.
Yeah, we all just recently played through Destinies, the base game. You guys have played through expansions as well, so you guys are actually seasoned vets. And this is just about base games, so I don't know if Bryan has played at this point expansion, so we might just talk about base game here.
Right.
All right, let's see what Bryan has to say. And we'll be stopping and interjecting when we feel.
Mm-hmm.
Question of the day: what is your favorite app-driven game, or app-assisted game, I should say? And that could be in any fashion. It could be something so simple as in a game that has an assisted app that kind of helps you set things up, or a la, what's the game with the Alchemist, right? Or maybe it's some of the more heavy app-driven games like Mansions of Madness and Descent and Imperial Assault and that
right, well,
set.
I think you just mentioned mine.
Yeah,
Mansion Madness
I was
is
just going to
probably
say
mine.
Mansions for sure. And Gloomhaven, that app, that's not an official app,
Right.
but I like that app.
What about you guys?
I like this question. Chronicles of Crime.
That was an immediate thought too, yeah.
No doubt.
Mine is actually kind of a spin-off of yours. Mine would be Lord of the Rings, Journey to Middle-earth.
You like that one a little bit?
Yes, I do like that a little bit more.
I believe he compared those two on this channel as well, on Dice Tower, to see which one. I think he went with Mansions at the end. It's been a while since I've watched that review of his.
Right.
I think in the end he liked the theme.
They're essentially like the same thing, but I do like.
And that one's more of a campaign, though, so you can't really fit
Yeah.
other people in as easily.
Right.
The Lord of the Rings one.
Right,
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we will carry on with the actual video.
Or maybe it's Chronicles of Crime, which is what we're talking about today. A game not by Chronicles of Crime, but the game by the same group of people. This is from Lucky Duck. This is called Destinies, and it takes the point and shoot kind of Chronicles of Crime QR code system, and it takes you to a different level. This is an RPG in which you don't need a dungeon master, essentially, which is kind of what Mansions of Madness is to. That is the Call of Cthulhu for people who don't have a dungeon master, essentially. But this is a little bit more RPG like, but it also does kind of have the same borders that Mansions of Madness and those other ones have. So what is Destinies? It's this really interesting kind of Middle Ages sort of lore that has monsters and things, but it's also kind of woven into Middle Ages, even religious kind of facets and things like this. So it's an interesting and tricky theme that's handled in a pretty interesting way. So we're going to take a look at what Destinies does, the app assisting and all that sort of stuff. Come back up, talk final thoughts right now.
Yeah, we'll let this play. This video is less than 16 minutes, so we'll let this play and then explain the game a little bit if you're not aware. Give him a shine here. We won't do our own for it.
So here's Destinies laid out, and I say laid out, essentially what's going to happen is you're going to pick one of these player boards. They're the same, and basically you're going to pick the mission in the app. You're going to choose which one you want. We'll look at that in just a minute. So for instance, you might be the huntsman or the noble or the witch. Depending on which mission you pick will be the ones that are available to you. So let's just say we pick the huntsman. Well, in the app it'll tell you where to start your stats. This one, and this one. You'll put a certain number of these discs out there onto your stats. And let's just put 2 for each. It's not actually 2 for each. I want to say it's 2, 3, 4 in the first mission especially. But let's just say they're here currently.
I like this system.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
really
it's
do.
interesting how it's different for each character.
I think this is as close to Dungeons and Dragons I want to get.
Every single time. Now you have fatigue dice over here that you can potentially get if you choose to use them or if they get put back in to your hand. So let's just say I'm rolling this. You're going to add up that number. Let's say it was a book check. Anything to the left of that number. So I rolled a 5. So if it's 5 or lower, any dot there counts as a success. So if I'd have rolled an 8, I'd have 2 successes here. You mark in the app what you've done. Now this symbol on the fatigue dice is an automatic success. You would actually make that a 3 successes. If you spend the fatigue dice, they get fatigued, and then you will put them in later when someone says refresh those dice. So this is not the bulk of the game, though.
The recess board,
Yeah.
good. Insert, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a huge fan. All those small minis.
I threw it out. I threw out the insert.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Some of you can't tell who goes where. It's like, ugh.
No, I never knew. I ended up at the end just throwing them all in a baggie.
Yeah.
That was literally what I did.
Yeah. And we'll give more of our thoughts at the end, just letting him go through. It's
Those
pretty
dice.
basic
So-
rules.
This is not the bulk of the game, though. Now, this is just what your interface looks like, but again, it is an RPG. So before I can really show you any of the other components, I'm going to quickly show you some things I can show you. But the one thing about Lucky Duck Games that I really like, kind of like Chronicles of Crime, these images don't mean anything, right? They're just certain things, like there's people, but these images don't really mean a whole lot, so I'm going to flip through them quickly. They're not going to be spoilers because they can be used for other things. You know, something might give you this, etc. So you have this nice art style, very, very cool looking stuff. Basic items as well as some more complex story-driven items. But what I really want to show you now is when it comes to the components, these miniatures. Now look at the scale here. We're talking a tiny, tiny miniature, but it has a lot of detail. Think the size of Fury of Dracula, but smaller. I don't even know what the scale is here. These are tiny, but then you have some more kind of medium-sized figures here when it comes to some of the angels, etc. That look really, really great. Then you have obviously what you're seeing from the front of the box, this giant angel of death looking sucker here. Amazingly huge and very, very neatly detailed. A little flimsy, but only because you're talking about bones, etc. there. Look at that. Dark foreboding. Scorpion tails. I mean, who doesn't like the triple scorpion tails, right? So the production quality is out of the box. It's just, it's out of the park. It's so good. The game looks absolutely great. The art looks great. Every bit of this game looks good, and that's a plus for me. I want a game to look good when I'm going to invest time in it. You have these map tiles here that you're going to place on the board. Now they're going to give you certain images on the back, but when you flip them over, there's more to them. See, you don't really know because it's almost like fog of war. These will flip over, and then these tokens will be put on them, or a character will be put on them in the app. And the app will tell you, hey, touch this to do these certain skill checks. Now, again, I'm not going to go into the app and show you a ton of stuff because I know what happens. Spoilers. And if you're watching this and you don't want spoilers, well, obviously I don't want to show you what's going to happen. But you can click and see when it comes to what you need to see on how to do them. In the app, it will show you as you're playing that first mission kind of what to do. But again, I don't want to spoil it. The first mission is a standalone, which everybody should play. But then the campaign picks up and you start kind of waving your way through the campaign. But you have a lot of great components, a lot of things like that. Wanted to show you out of the box, just good looking stuff. And then we'll talk about the app for a little bit, show you a couple things, and then we'll come back up, talk final thoughts. So, a couple things to choose. There are some different modules to pick from, different missions to pick. You can pick normal 2 to 3 players, Challenger solo, Explorer solo, or Bound by Fate 2 versus 2. Challenger solo is the one that's really difficult. You're going to have to replay and play over and over. Explorer is the much easier version. So we're going to pick Explorer solo right now. Oh heck, we'll pick 2 to 3 for now. So it tells you the intro. We're going to skip that just in case you want it. You're going to choose your characters. We're going to go Huntsman, Witch, Noble. These are the only 3 available.
Yeah, 1 to 3 player game.
Right.
And you guys played this by attaching it to your TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we
it's
had
a
a-
giant
That's cool.
screen.
You guys just played on the computer?
Laptop, yep.
Right, laptop.
Which is still probably more than other people. I bet a lot of people use phones.
Right, yeah. I would not want to use the
No, not after going from this.
Right.
So you're talking about the setup here. They're showing all the attributes.
Right.
The character you're going to pull out of the box, which is frustrating.
Right.
And what they start with.
So nice for like setup purposes, like just
This is
quick
nice.
and easy. Boom, done.
Starting one. This guy takes a bow as your starting item, which is a one-time consumable, by the way, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Now his backstory is pretty cool. It's on the cards. Did everybody take this? Yes. Game, blah blah blah. Okay. So you put the tile out there. Now I'm not going to do this physically, but you would do this. You would take the tile number 2 and put it out there. Now we're not going to play through the whole scenario, but I'm going to get you far enough to where you can see some stuff about it. Put this dude on the church instead of the little tokens. Normally you'd put the tokens like this down here, but instead you're going to put him on there actually. Number 23 goes out here. As indicated, face down, it says. It's giving you some information about the smith and what you need to do. You also have your Destinies cards, which will show you. So it says the town center, stone circle,
Are you guys wanting to follow stories in games?
Yeah, I feel like we are, especially when we were playing through this, we followed the story pretty well. There were times where I would just be like, oh, okay, I get an experience, or oh, I get to up this, or whatever. But there was some times, definitely.
We were very much into the story. I thought they kept it really interesting.
The card in front of it, you can scan it, hold it back here, scan it, and then click it, and it will tell you about the 2 Destiny options you have, whether you want to be kind of the purple.
You even do the voice.
I did act out
If
some of
there's
the
deep
stuff.
voices.
Well, they're like yelling and it's all caps or something. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta get in there.
It is fun to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to exhaust. We don't have any of the other ones exhausted. We should have prayed first. But we can roll our dice. Let's say we get 5 successes.
Oh.
Or 2 successes. Sorry, we're going to get.
Okay. Hey, you start off strong.
Blah, blah, blah. As soon as the fortune teller agrees to see me, I'll go pay her a visit. So just little things like that. Maybe if we'd have gotten more successes, it might have done more. We're going to end our turn. You could do all of the options there, right?
Also
That's
cool.
part of it. You can do all the options that are.
And it's so clean the end of turn.
Yeah. Only thing that's bad is if you click this wrong thing and then you have to end your turn when you. It's like a little mix-up you may have had, or you're like, oh, I already went to that
Oh, yeah,
person, and
yeah.
then you have to end your turn, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
like,
can't go back.
Yeah. But makes sense.
Right.
Figure this out all at once, which is different than, say, Mansions or the Lord of the Rings. That's the one I was thinking of. Tells you what to do, blah, blah, blah. You put this guy out here. Anyway, you keep going. You're going to keep exploring. Let's just say we explore over here. Boom, 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 boom. It's going to show you this stuff. You can explore. It flips out new tiles sometimes. And notice the art is connected, by the way, which I love.
So cool.
I was going to say that too, yeah.
Do the standing stones and see. Okay, we can explore this.
Great point, Brian. Great point.
Okay, and we can explore this. We'll do the standing stones. Boom. Meditate in the circle, pray to the old gods, or search the circle. Let's pray to the old gods. We're going to get 3 successes just to see what happens. If you don't want to spoil it, don't spoil it. Pray to the old gods, long forgotten. You gain a talisman. Okay, so there you go. So essentially, you're going to do that over and over until someone is able to start the finale. We're not going to skip to that and do it, but many things will happen. Monsters will show up. Bad things will happen. You'll fight. You'll do other tests, but it's more about the story and telling the story. But one of you will win because one of you will do the finale first. So that's Destinies. First and foremost, wow, this game looks good. It just feels good too. The pieces all feel nice. Now, the scale, to me, I actually like. I like the scale is small to where you're not just eating up the entire table.
4x4 grid of 16 cards making
It does make a good point there. We played it on a coffee table. Every single one, we played it on a coffee table throughout even all the expansions, which was nice because this isn't one that takes up a huge table that you need. We literally had our stuff, the maps all fit, all the markets and stuff that you had all fit on a relatively small
And sitting
coffee
in
table.
front of like the TV,
Right.
like we said, having it like up on the TV. So
Yeah, so I definitely agree with him about that because it was so nice to not have this big sprawling thing and you have to look all over the place
Oh, yeah, I know
and
what
see
you
what's over there, what's over here kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty small. And then the miniatures themselves, while being small, are incredibly detailed, and I do like that. And they are something you could paint if you wanted to, and you could paint rather quickly because of that. The big Angel of Death sort of figure is just incredible looking with the scorpion tails and everything like that. Looks good. Some of the larger figures, the monsters, look good as well. The cards themselves, the art on the cards looks good. Everything about this game looks good, from that to the insert sort of divider that it comes with the lids and everything. Everything about this looks good. So when you see it on the table, you go, wow, what is this game? I want to play this, right? The app also looks good. Now we're going to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and hit it pretty hard on this for one single facet that can be easily fixed, but when playing the game, I cannot stand the fact there's no log button, or at least I looked for it over and over, all over the place. There's no log button to where, for instance, if you miss what to put in a trade stack for somebody, you miss it. You don't get access to, I mean, yes, you can BGG it, but I don't want to do that. I want to be able to click a button and say, no, what did that say? Put which cards in there? Perfect.
Yeah, I was looking for a log when we were playing the other day because there was something I skimmed past in the story that I wondered about, and I thought, oh, how do I get that? How do I find that person again? But there wasn't a log. And
That's so surprising.
Right.
Yeah.
I never actually felt the need for it, but that's surprising they don't have one.
Right. I know you had some similar issues to the point to where you started taking
I was
pictures
just
of the
about to
screen
say
with
that.
your
Oh,
phone.
wow.
Yeah, I was actually like taking pictures because I was like, I need to
Remember
this,
it, yeah.
you know. But Yeah, I felt like certain stories that didn't have to do that, but I mean, other ones, I'm like, I can't remember all this information.
Definitely
so.
the Sea of Sand one, there would be a lot of information.
Yes.
Even I think it was towards like the finale of that one, I started taking
Pictures?
screenshots because there's so much.
Yeah.
I was taking pictures of the screen just
Oh,
because I was
that's
like, oh man, there was a lot.
That info.
Or in my mind, I thought, okay, well, I missed it somehow, so I'll just click it to trade, and it says use the trade stack. I'm like, well, I don't know what the trade stack is. What is it? So I would have appreciated it more had it been, okay, hey, here are those cards again, just in case you're wondering. Or I'd go back up and scroll and read the messaging. If you miss a clue, if you miss something you were supposed to pay attention to, you also miss that. And so I'm not a fan of how you just can't go back and read the log of information you've already learned. Not information you haven't learned yet or that your character forgot, but information that you already learned. And that really bothered me because it made it quite difficult sometimes to kind of remember, now, who am I supposed to talk to? Because there's a lot of things that sound similar between the priest and the bishop, etc. You know, a lot of those things you're like, well, who am I supposed to ask about this again? Or where am I supposed to go? What are the crossroads again? So let's come back up for a minute out of the negative and talk about a couple more positive things. I do like how you interact with the app. I like how you move around the map, pick something to interact. There's no like heavy, do I move 2 spaces and then do the interact and do this? Like you can get caught up sometimes in mansions. In this, you're opening up a space, moving on to and exploring, or you're moving on to a space and exploring something that's there. It's pretty straightforward. Now, here's what I don't like. I don't like that you're competitively playing. Like this is a multiplayer game, 3-player game, but you're playing against the other players and you can win individually. That didn't grab me at all that you can win individually in this. And so you say, okay,
Thoughts?
I disagree.
I
liked
disagree as
that
well.
I thought it was interesting that you are trying to fulfill your destiny, and the destinies are kind of similar. I mean, they're not completely different from each other because the game has to function, without being completely different. So you can kind of see someone else doing something, and you're like, oh, I should go over there too. But then the app changes the game, and then they already got that relic, so now you're not going to get that relic. So you can't just like follow somebody around to different places. I don't know. What did you think?
I think if the map were maybe twice as big, I can see where Bryan is saying we split up, we try to divide and conquer this one objective, and you could play it cooperative that way. But as a small map, I don't think it would be that compelling if it were playing cooperative. We're fighting things fairly
people are
quick.
stumbling over each other,
Like, oh, you
fighting
get
the same
we need
thing.
to talk to this thing, you go do that, and it would probably be uneventful.
People probably wouldn't listen either to like other people's parts of the story, and I just feel like I don't know, playing against each other in that really drives you to want to get the clues first and understand the story. It makes me want to pay more attention to the story because I'm not big on stories. So for me, if it was cooperative, sometimes I just leave it up to other people to
Follow
pay.
along with
Yeah,
what's going on.
yeah, it's kind
It
of
would be pretty cool though to
true.
play in a big map cooperative.
And I think that
Yeah.
some of the
It's like harder
tasks,
to accomplish things if we divide and we're really into it.
because that is something. Because when I wondered about the theme of the story, though, where there's this something wreaking havoc on. I mean, it depends on the story that you're doing, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
But there were times that I'm like, so why did one person win?
Right.
Like from the story, it shouldn't everyone win? Yay, we lived another day.
Well, I think that's what I liked about the competitiveness is that in a lot of the stories, whether it's a base game or it's the expansions, the destinies are intertwined, almost like we are completely going for different things. Now, there were ones where we were very similarly
Yeah.
going for the same goal, but there were destinies where we were definitely both going towards the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And there was some intertwining of our destinies just in the story alone without giving away any spoilers again.
Yeah.
But I really liked how that worked, and I like race games. And so for me,
Yeah.
a lot of this felt like a race. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this other faction
Yes.
is trying to do the opposite of what I'm trying to do, and so I just need to go and
Yeah.
like do everything I can as fast as I can before they do X, Y,
Yeah,
Z.
I like that too.
Yeah, it is like a race.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like very close. Like I feel like every time we play,
Mm-hmm.
it is super close. And I'll be like, no, like I'll be so close to completing my
Right.
destiny and then he'll do it first or vice versa. And it's like, you're so close.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Nick. Like if the board was bigger, I think cooperative would be a cool idea. But at the same time, we're working against each other, we're competing, but like we're also, we're very into the story and we're kind of like did they say this, or like this guy's doing this, or you know what I mean? Like we're kind of not working together, but we're discussing it together.
Well, you might discover something that I want to know. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, thank you for going there.
So and the same thing. I mean, and it is like you need to pay attention to the other person's turn because they might
Yeah, you might
discover
get information.
something
Would it
that
be
you need.
would it be cooler that if they had something like Search for Planet X, where only one person gets to know, the person going there gets to know?
Yeah.
That would probably feel.
Tough.
Yeah, that would be. As a player, I don't like. It's competitive.
Sure.
I'm racing. You finding out information that I went and
Yeah,
discovered.
like, oh, I should have talked to that guy.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, like I came here. I wanted to explore this, but I feel like I helped you more than I helped myself.
Yeah. I agree.
I think the quietness though might hurt it a little bit because now you're feeling like a solitary. Your turn is solitary. You're not engaged with the other person's. It's pros and cons, I guess, both ways.
Right. yeah.
Right.
All right, let's see what else you got. I'm wondering if he even likes the game now.
Brian, why not just play it solo? Or heck, you could even turn it into some sort of cooperative mode by just ignoring that rule. You could, but that's not how the game was made. Now, when playing solo, there's another issue I encountered, whereas the game is fantastic, it's good, but when I'm playing solo, obviously there's not as much accountability when you're playing. And I don't mean by cheating. Well, I didn't roll that. I rolled 3 successes. What I mean is, eventually, towards the end of some of the levels, it got to where I was like, basically just playing the app, and I would just look at the board and be like, oh, where'd I move? Oh, yeah, that's right, I moved over here. To where I'm mostly focusing on the iPad and not the game. This is one of the pitfalls that people talked about when they were like, don't bring your app into my game. And I was never a fan of that argument. I thought, bring in more apps to my games. Let me just explore technology, even bring virtual reality, which Lucky Duck has done before. We call it augmented reality. Bring all that into my games. I'm good with that. Problem is, the one thing they said would happen actually happened in this game when you're playing it solo, which is mitigated when you're not playing solo because someone else will take the iPad, someone else will take the phone, and you're looking at the board and considering your options, looking at your items and stuff at that point. But when you're playing it solo, it becomes almost 60-40 video game, board game, and that part bothered me a little bit. So all in all, beautiful looking game. The theme's a little tricky. It's weird. I get my hackles up a little bit when the theme is what.
Really well in a good way.
Yeah,
I thought it was
Yeah.
cool.
Kind of going back to what did you think? Did you think there was too much app and not enough board, or what was your take? Because for us, I agree with him on that because we played it on a big 55-inch screen TV, and so it's kind of hard to not just look at this kind of thing. And while she's taking her turn, I can see everything that comes up. So maybe that even goes back to maybe I wouldn't want to play because then you would see your own information and the decisions that you're making, and it's a little bit more hidden. But yeah, when he's talking about like how much app you want in your game, where did this kind of fall for you guys?
I didn't mind at all.
Yeah, I didn't mind, but I did catch ourselves going, oh yeah, here, let me move my guy over here. Or he would say, oh, weren't you over here? I go, yeah, I didn't move.
Yeah, you didn't move because
I didn't move the figure because I was
Definitely.
paying attention to the screen. But it didn't trouble me or cause me, like, concern.
Okay.
I don't mind. I'm not a purist, though. And I can see that some people are like, no, I have a board game. I own these physical pieces. These physical pieces need to have meaning. And to me,
Right. I think for sorry, go ahead.
Well, I agree. Like, I don't think it took away from the game at all. Like, when you are playing solo, you are immersed like in the screen. But I think for playing with another person, like we're looking at the board, then looking at the screen, then looking at the board. You know, I felt like
cards,
engaged.
look at your cards.
Yeah, and your cards. So it is. I mean, I don't think that it took away. Like, I love adding apps to board games. I mean, not that it's all app, or mainly app driven, but like I think it's a cool element,
Right. For me, I feel like this game toes the line of too much app almost. Because for me, even though I think it was probably the way we played it, I was so focused on, yes, I paid attention when I rolled the dice and I was moving up on my different skills and looking at my different cards, but I felt like, 75% of the time I was looking at the screen. But again, that could be because of the way that we played it. But this really toes that line for almost, I don't want more than this app-wise. I don't need more app interaction than what Destinies. If you give me more, it's going to be too much and I might as well just be playing a video game. Because I could just be like, okay, just give me the dice, give me the cards, and I'll just do everything on the app. Just put it up there, and I'll move around. I don't need to put the tiles, my people.
Yep.
I'll just do this, and that's it.
Put the dice on the app.
Right.
Right? And then I just click a
Right.
button.
For me, it was just a little bit further. It could have just been a full-fledged app game.
Yeah.
But I don't want more than this. This is the most app that I want in a game. I think.
I agree.
Just because of how much I focused on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll let him close it out. He has a little less than 2
It
minutes.
is, but they handled it really well in a good way, and I thought it was cool, the mythos and all that sort of stuff. It was an interesting choice, and they handled it nicely. I thought it was good, and it looks good. Couple of tweaks I'd like to see, and this game could eventually, once these kind of tweaks are worked out, especially the ones with the app, and maybe introducing a more of a co-op feel. And again, if that's your bag, that's your bag. But for me, I feel like if those couple tweaks were made, this game would be just an out-of-the-park success. Now, I've been given some some pushback from Roy and Mike. We all joke about this, about how dare I say this game deserves a lower score than what they gave it, but we're just playing around. But the idea is that those are the things that bothered me. But I can see where this would be a super high game for a lot of people. Just me and my personality. Those few things, once fixed or once tweaked, would raise this game significantly for me. Currently, I'll tell you what I give it. I'm giving it a 6.57 right now. It's right on that border, right on that cusp. Just because of those tweaks took me out of the game just that much to where it made me want more. I want to play this game, right? But I got irritated with the few things like that in it, to where when I played, I'm like, okay, I really wish this was fixed. I really wish this was different. And doing that kind of hurts the experience for me. So if those things could be tweaked or fixed, whether it be an expansion or an update to the app, more power to it. So that's what I thought of Destinies from Lucky Duck Games. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan.
All right.
Until
Thank
next
you,
time,
Bryan.
we'll see you.
A little lower than I expected.
Yeah. Let's see. The last part you brought up was theme. What did you guys think of the theme, too?
Well, I like role-playing games already. I'm predisposed to those. I always liked the World of Warcraft. I like Skyrim, Oblivion. I played a lot of video games that were role-playing. And I have appreciated Gloomhaven and different role-playing games that we've played where I'm used to stories, kind of developing a character and things like that. So I don't know. I think the theme was good for me, but again, am not the biggest story person. So
Right. That's why I was curious, because
yeah.
this is a game that I wouldn't think necessarily might.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find myself kind of breezing through the actual story.
Yeah.
I kind of
We're
like,
both
I'm playing
so
a game.
bad for that. I don't know
I'm
why.
not great at that.
We're the same.
So I'm not the theme player though.
Yeah.
So I'm not the theme player at the table. You guys are the theme players at the table. So for me, the biggest pros, well, the way that it handled a race with Destinies, trying to accomplish your Destinies, I thought was super cool. I really like the race way that this plays. It doesn't feel like a normal race game at all. There's just something about the way that you have your private Destinies. There are multiple of them. You're trying to figure out how to accomplish it. You don't really have a direction at first, and you start getting a little bit as you go. Okay, I'm finding out more information. I thought that was super cool, and I also like the cards a lot. I love the cards because you got to rip those from my hand sometimes. You're like, I might need this card. It might be basic, but I might come in a situation that I need this desperately.
Yeah, it's so
And
true.
if I use it for its discard action, I might be regretting it in 5 minutes.
It's so true because then you can go visit someone after and they ask for that
You're
item.
like,
And
oh,
you're
I
like,
really need that so bad. Like, oh, I use it to re-roll.
Oh, I hate that.
You have that,
so
I need a
much.
specific item, you're like, but I don't want to give it to you.
Yeah. He wants it for the ability, where I'm like, I actually need that. Like,
Yeah.
So the cards
it
are
up.
super cool.
No, I'm
Yeah.
even saying like the merchant when he's like, I want to weld something down and build something for you. You know, so I'm like, no, I like how it is. I don't
Yeah.
like to take
Right.
it's good the way it is.
Yeah, so the card's super cool. I don't really care for the tedious putting out those minis all over and putting
Right.
the landmarks or moving the landmarks and putting new tiles. It's like, it's a little tedious, but you can't really do this in Atlas because things are being revealed. You can't put a whole Atlas out there. I know that's the big thing. It would be nice, but then there's no discovery and all that.
Yeah.
What about biggest pros, biggest cons?
I think since we're kind of talking about theme a little bit, it was a con for me. I don't know about you. I guess like it wasn't a theme that drew me in. It was a darker theme, you know. I like the medieval like setting, which was nice. But the theme it didn't grasp me. It didn't really pull me in. I thought the story was intriguing enough, but it wasn't one that I was like super invested in. I don't know. I like the theme of the sea of sands and the myth and folklore a lot more than the base game. There was maybe a little bit of the theme that was in the base game sprinkled into those, but not as much.
Okay.
And so I like how they maybe took it a little bit more of a fantasy realm kind of thing. But the theme for the base game was not as intriguing for me. I don't know.
No, I agree with that. It was the base game is. I feel like the theme is very dark, and I'm not a middle or a middle class girl. I'm not a medieval themed person. That's not my.
It's a rough time.
Yeah,
Not
it's
a
like
good-
it's
I don't
real
like to think
dark,
about it.
and I mean I don't really like that stuff. So the theme did not draw me in for the base game. I completely agree with Andrew without any spoilers. I will not say anything as bad as I want to, but I felt like the expansion themes were so much better. More drew me in more. But yeah, this I was like, it's okay. I mean, I liked the gameplay more than I think the story in the base.
I think the other cons, we pretty much hit on it. The tiny minis. At some point, I just like reached in the bag, grabbed a mini, like, this is her.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Right, yeah. And if I come across the proper one, maybe I'll change it later.
Yeah.
But this is what it's going to be. Unless it's my character, I didn't really care. But that, the minis, it was what it was. What I ended up doing is put all the town folk in one bag and like the creatures in another. Because it was like, I can grab out the different.
For as much as I like the cards too, it's really annoying to get all those cards out of the stack when you run into like a merchant or something. And then there's like 4 of them on the board. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
He would sigh so loudly.
Oh, you got more
throw
wares?
his head back. Wares?
Where's this market at? Oh, it's over here. Where's that market?
Yeah, that too. I was getting like discombobulated. I'm like, whose market am I? Oh, I went to the
Right.
wrong market. Oh, well, can I just buy this from this
I just had
market?
that.
Thanks, Nick.
Right, we have those because they give you those little markers to kind of distinguish between where what is
Oh,
located,
yeah.
and you could kind of drop items if you need to and mark them, which was interesting. So yeah, I think those were the big cons. The theme wasn't a big thing.
Yeah,
And,
and on the cards too, he's always in charge of the tiles, placing them out and that part of it. And then I'm in charge of the cards, or we split the cards, but I'm like, ugh, like I gotta get more out. Like every time you find a market, I'm like, man.
That's what he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many cards. I'm just like, I mean, I love adding the cards into it, but I was like, God. And then then you're like, wait, where was that? And so you're trying to figure it out, and
Did you like the sounds that the app made?
No, it sounded like Saw.
No.
I was like, are we in Saw? That's literally what we said when we
It
were listening
sounds
to
like
it.
the theme song of Saw, and I was like, I don't like this.
I couldn't
Right.
stop laughing, so it'd be all silent, right? And then there'd be like one noise.
Yeah.
It'd be like,
When they do this story, yeah.
You're like,
Or this,
I
there
was
was
like,
the
I
one where
can
the
do
guy
it.
goes, ah!
Yes. The sounds, the music in the,
the
background.
whispering.
Even the narration for me, I thought the narration was corny.
Right, yes.
After the first play, like once you get that same voice again, I'm like, I'm not really digging this guy's voice. No
I did a
offense.
better job, trust me.
He did. He would read so the story would be read, and I'd be like so into his voice that I heard nothing.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I'd be like, what did he just
Put me
say?
up, Lucky Duck.
Nice.
Yeah, he did. He did a lot of voiceovers, but yeah, I'd be like,
Well,
like he'd go to
There were some weird
and
moments.
Eli, like, I think he watched this play. He was like, "This is scary."
The finale for the base game, he was like, I don't want to see that big guy come out.
yeah.
I'm like, it's just a miniature.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
He was thinking he was gonna like jump on the screen or
Oh,
something.
Yeah, it's scary.
So,
Jump scare.
so
Alright, scores.
pros, right?
One-
Oh, do you want to talk about pros?
I get mine.
Yeah. Well, pros. I mean, I think we shared a lot of those during the game, but to sum it up
That's
for us, it's a good game. I mean, video during the video when we were reacting, but overall, I had a lot of fun with the way that the story was. I love the interaction, the app aspect of it, the quality of the production, and just I haven't won yet, but I don't mind. I'm just figuring out my destiny.
get
You
there.
know,
Yeah.
I'm still having fun playing the game and asking people questions and trying to roll dice. It's always a good time.
Yeah,
so.
the smooth turns was a big pro for me, and the cards. I love the
Yeah.
cards. I think that decision every time to get rid of it or not is fantastic.
So what's your score on it?
Well, you have other pros in your mind.
yeah,
that
The
you
one
might
thing
mention?
that stuck out to me was that I never felt like even when I failed that I was being set back. I always improved. Like even if I didn't roll the best, it was always like, oh, you didn't do as well in intelligence? Bump up your intelligence. Oh, and here's an experience, or here's a whatever. I never felt like if I wasn't achieving what I was supposed to, that I was falling behind because I was always given some extra stuff, which I liked with that whole skill system that they had. That was nice.
And
I
I've
was
seen
not like that. I was like, dang it! Like if I knew that if I wasn't rolling well and I knew he was getting close, I was like I felt
Yeah.
stressed, and I mean, but that's part of the game. It's a race, but I want to say my biggest pro, and especially for like Lucky Duck games, with Chronicles of Crime and this game, I love the interaction with the characters. Like that is a huge pro for me when it comes to games. Is like, regular board games, like you may not, they're not talking back to you if it's on a board. So I feel like the app actually, like them speaking to you and being able to talk to them is awesome. Like for me, that makes it
Characters
exciting.
reacting to things, and
Yes.
you show them something, they go, what is that? Or I like
Yeah.
that too. Yeah,
Right.
very dynamic.
All right.
Score time.
Scores.
What's yours?
I'm higher than Brian. I'm at an 8-2 for this one. It's a roll to resolve game, which aren't always my favorite, but it just handles it really well. The way you are doing the roll to resolve is really cool with those stats. I like that a lot. It's really clean. Not a lot of to look up. The decisions with the cards, like I said, are so amazing. When to use them, when not, when you're going to run into it. And at the end, you just want to use them all because like, I'm definitely not using this medicine anymore. I'm going to use all that for all these cool things I can reroll and mitigate those bad dice
Yes,
rolls.
I love that they have the discard options.
And there's a lot of situations where you're rolling all your dice and you just get all ones, and that really stinks. And we played one, the last one we played, I had twice that I rolled 4 dice and they're all 4 ones. It's like, oh, I really built up for that, and then I have a 4 total. So it's a roll to resolve. You got to expect that, and some results may vary.
Yeah. So in that vein, my score's a little lower than Nick's on this one. I'm giving it a 7-8. I had fun. I love the app integration. I liked. Sometimes this is an us problem though. It's probably a hardware problem because we connected my phone to the laptop, but it was hard to scan sometimes. But that's not about the game really itself. It was us. But yeah, I felt what Sam was sharing about when you're losing, when you know that they're getting close to their destiny. For me, I haven't achieved destiny yet. I haven't won. So I feel in the last play that we did, I was getting a lot of bad luck.
Yeah.
And I was feeling like I wasn't improving anything, even though we were just kind of, when we get those tokens and we were told to move a skill back, we were actually calling it a wash. And we were like, oh, yeah, so I'm just not going to lose this and I'll just spend this at the same time.
Yeah, same thing. It's a wash.
Because then then I wasn't improving and I knew what I had to do. But 7, 8,
throwing turns,
exactly.
away.
So I was throwing some turns away. I got a little frustrated about it because I know he's improving. He's going all the spots, and I'm stuck in the mud here, not progressing. So 7, 8 for me, still a fun time. I enjoyed it, and it's something different, little race game.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, just the base game, I'm gonna give it an 8 even. I mean, obviously, like I won't talk about the expansions too much.
I'm
but
going to.
Oh, are you? Okay, I would say so I'd give it an 8 with the base game. With the expansions, I would give it an 8.5. I loved the expansions that much more. And I would say like for me too, I mean, I talk about like a con is kind of like that ability or that like feeling of like I want to finish the story. I want to know if he wins and I don't win, like what would happen if I did, and so you work so hard, and like I've even said, I'm like, I'm gonna play this solo, which I haven't yet, but I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna play this solo because I want to know what happens.
Yeah.
And so it leaves you wanting more, and so that is always a great aspect of a game.
Right. So for me, I love this game. This game is probably going to make me rethink my entire top 100 games and how I considered what games I like and what games I want to play. I like this game a lot. This is a 9-2 for me. I love this game. Everything about it, how easy it is to set up, how easy it is to tear down. Yes, I have some issues with the components, obviously, with specifically the minis. But other than that, I feel immersed in it. This is as close to like an RPG. Like I could never get into Dungeons and Dragons. I've tried it. This gives me that feel that those role play games, and I feel like role players would enjoy this kind of game.
Yeah.
I love the system with the skills. You hit on the cards, which are so good. And when you throw in those expansions, man, does this really escalate. For me, it really elevates it because I cannot wait to go back and explore some things. Like, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but with like Sea of Sands adds these dungeons and stuff that you're going to go explore. You have this, with the folklore, you're going to have all these different, like, I guess, like, creatures kind of thing that you're going to be dealing with, more fantasy type stuff, which I like the theme a little bit better. But there was just so many cool things that happened. I love like the changing of the world, and the decisions you make affects it. Like there were times when I made a decision and I was like, oh, I'm not going to come back here ever again. And I was like, I'm going to try to steal from this guy. And I failed, and I could never go back because he remembered me. And I was like, I totally just screwed myself. And so, like, I love this game. This is so good. And this game alone is why I backed Dark Quarter. So I'd be curious if Bryan Drake is going to back the Dark Quarter because it's cooperative and it's the same kind of system.
Yeah.
So that's a question for
maybe.
Bryan Drake. I'd be interested to see if he's going to be looking forward to that game.
I'm super excited.
So yeah, 9-2 for me. I love this game.
All right.
All right, so we have a variety of opinions about this game, but we're all very high on it overall. Really enjoy it. Check it out. If you've played it before, let us know in the comments what you thought about it. If you've seen Bryan Drake's video, maybe share some of your reaction or your comments, and let us know also if you enjoyed this type of segment and if you think we should keep making videos like this. This is the first time we've done an installment like this, and you know, I had a lot of fun watching the video and reacting. I don't really often get a chance to because we're just watching it alone while we're having dinner, or we watch a lot of board game media. So it's nice to get to watch it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click the like, thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more great videos. We'll see you next time.
Adios.
Bye.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Bryan.